Hey everyone, it's Squatch Daddy here, giving you some more tips, tricks, and guides on all things Valorant so you can suck just a little bit less. If you want more videos and guides like this, be a homie and drop a like, sub, and comment your thoughts on this and what you'd like to see next. Valorant has a huge selection of weapons that all offer unique and different playstyles that can complement different agents and work well on certain maps as well. Although we have some obvious crowd favorites in here, there may be a couple of guns you might be sleeping on that actually do have great uses. This version of the tier list will be based on the latest 1.06 patch and will include all of the guns there, so any new gun releases will not be included in this. This tier list will also be tailored to you from me, who has thoroughly reviewed basically every gun in the game. Please check out some of my other videos if you want any details on any gun in particular. Some key components to consider as part of this tier list will be that this is focused for a solo queue kind of environment and disregards the competitive scene. This is because the content I make is meant essentially for the everyday player. In more specific terms, I will rate all of the weapons in the game based on the gun's capability and strengths in situations where it shines, the gun's flexibility to be used in different situations, the amount of value the gun brings, and any potential alternatives or substitutions for the gun. And this is all of course being applied in a situation where you would use in your ranked games. I will also be rating the guns anywhere from between S, A, B, and C, just as a reference to frame all of the guns here. As a prelude, this tier list is of course my own opinion, so please do not flame me for any of my choices here, as I might have some hot takes. If you think a certain gun should be higher or lower in the tier list, feel free to make a comment down below. I'm always welcome to people saying why they're wrong. But for real, if you've got a gun that you want to promote or put hate on, feel free to talk about it. And with that, we'll be moving on to our first weapon, being the Classic. We really don't expect much from this gun, and that's honestly fine, since it's the default gun in the game, and I really just placed it in the C tier. Using this gun does leave much to be desired, but at least it can get the job done in some situations. The Classic would also be considered weak even when compared to other pistols in the game. However, there are some situations where it can be decent due to its right click, which can get you some kills here and there. You will immediately jump to another gun when you can, just due to the limited ability this gun can bring you. Next up with the Classic is actually the Bucky. I know, it's quite sad to see the gun here considering how much I loved it using it previously, but the gun got hit quite hard due to the nerfs shotguns have received in patch 1.06. For those that don't know, shotguns now really have a bad increase in spread when they are used in the air, which greatly reduces their flexibility in certain situations. The Bucky is still a decent eco round weapon, but with this reduction in strength, the gun now has some alternatives that can truly contest it in many situations. In around the same price category, we would rather go for something like a Sheriff, Stinger, or Marshall. Even guns like the Ghost can probably be more useful than the Bucky at times. The shotgun nerfs were mainly meant to hit the judge, but I'm really sad the Bucky also got hit by it. Hopefully, Riot will provide some level of compensating buffs for the gun in the future, but we'll have to wait for future patches for that one. Now onto the B tier, where the first gun we find in this section to be the Frenzy. Contrary to most, I actually think this gun is kind of slept on. The gun has an incredible strength as a secondary for something like an operator, and also can shine in things like pistol rounds. In addition, the Frenzy is also the highest DPS gun in the pistol class without a doubt. Of course, the gun still lacks a lot in the range department, but you can easily play to the gun's range in a lot of situations, which makes it much more capable than many realize. Some of you may be surprised by this one, but I also put the Ghost in the B tier. This is more of a hot take than anything, but I think that the Ghost is pretty overrated by many people in the community due to the amount of presence it has at the highest levels of play and also how good it feels to use. The Ghost firing sound makes it feel more stable and reliable than it actually is. Of course, the gun is actually in fact pretty reliable in most situations, but people definitely overshoot how capable it actually is. Although the Ghost is decent in most situations, that's really as good as it's going to get. Decent. I'd really consider this pistol to be a jack of all trades gun, and in any round outside of pistol, it's really not going to be that effective. This is mainly due to the introduction of armor into each round, which then requires the Ghost to get 2 headshots in order to secure a kill, which is incredibly difficult in most rounds. If you feel like you play better with the Ghost, definitely go for it, as that psychological boost will be important in making you play better, but the Ghost is definitely a gun that feels better than it actually is. The other sad victim of the shotgun nerfs, the Judge has now dropped itself into the B tier. The gun used to be absolutely disgusting in a lot of scenarios, but has frustrated so many players that it forced Riot's hand of God, and the gun now finds itself confused as to what it can do at this point. A big draw for this gun was its ability to basically be unrestrained in terms of being able to shoot enemies. A lot of players were going wild with a bunch of duelists flying through the air and gunning everyone down, but shotguns have such a bad spread multiplier in the air now that this is just not really viable, and players won't be able to go crazy as they were able to before. Honestly, although the gun has dropped down in its usability, this is probably a healthy change to the gunplay overall in the game. The Bulldog also finds itself in the B tier for being a gun that does not command much power, even though it has decently high financial requirement. Although the gun answers a need at a price tag that allows it to have no true competitors, the gun's difficult spray pattern and low fire rate make it difficult to recommend to most players, except for those that are at the absolute top of the ladder. It's definitely good as an anti-eco weapon and is very well rounded, but buying it brings up the question of whether or not there could be another gun that could be more useful or more cost efficient, or even both. With guns like the Spectre providing an incredible amount of power at a lower price tag, the Bulldog kinda struggles to find a competitive advantage. The last gun in the B tier is definitely one that can piss off a lot of people, and it's none other than the Odin. I've heard so many people in the comments complain about this gun, talk about how busted it is and how it requires no skill, and to be honest, I can see where you're coming from. Left unpunished, the Odin is an extremely powerful tool that can mow down an entire team if necessary, and excels in holding angles and really setting up shop to see what it can do. However, where it gains in that firepower, it kind of loses in flexibility. The assault rifles that this gun likes to compete with are much more popular than the Odin for their longer ranges and faster ability to answer from any angle at almost any time. The Odin undoubtedly has high upside and is actually probably a solid A tier gun at gold and below ranks, but as you go up the ranks, it gets much harder to succeed with. Now onto the A tier, where we start to reach guns that are actually quite powerful and are a lot of the tools you will commonly find used by many players in your games and even in pro play. To offer a strong start to the list, I wanted to bring up the Marshal, which is probably one of my favorite guns in the game. For only 1100 credits, this is one hell of a gun, especially in cases where you come straight off of an eco round. Whenever I win pistol round, I will almost immediately jump to this gun because it absolutely dumpsters unarmored enemies, and its low cost allows you to drop it in round 3 and upgrade right to the operator, assuming you want round 2. Even if you lose round 2 for whatever reason, you should still have enough to make a competitive buy in the following round. The Marshal is also incredibly flexible because of its surprising ability to be used unscoped as well. Do not sleep on this gun, boys. Joining the big guns will actually be a personal choice of mine, and that's the Stinger. Say what you want about the gun, but I actually think it's extremely slept on, mainly because of its super high kill potential for only 1000 credits. It's a decently flexible gun that chews through bullets, literally having the fastest firing rate in the game, and can outtrade many of the rifles in the game as well. It even has decent range with its ADS mode, and for the price, you really cannot beat this gun. The Shorty is another budget option I'd like to toss in here, and this is entirely due to what this gun is capable of and the opportunities it can provide for players for literally only 200 credits. I'm sure you've strayed away from the gun because you've seen too many clips online of players just getting stuck because they can't use the gun past 2 meters, but on an eco, by camping a corner, you open up a legitimately high potential for a cheese kill for as little of a financial hit as you can possibly muster. The fact that you can even potentially kill a rifler with this gun, take his rifle, and then 1v9 around afterwards just drives straight anxiety into any player peeking a tight corner, man, makes this gun a big hit in my books. I love it. The last 2 guns in the A tier are the Spectre and Ares, and I wanted to point out these guns together because I consider them almost like different versions of the same gun, and you can spec either of them according to the situation you'd like to use it for. Of course, they're very different in nature, but in terms of the price tag and what they're able to answer, they're very close. If you need more pressure firing and defensive capability to hold certain positions, you might opt for the Ares for its larger magazine and higher wall penetration. However, by opting for the Spectre, you gain a touch more movement speed, silenced shots, and an easier recoil pattern that can help you tackle most early game situations with high level of effectiveness. Your own personal playstyle can also affect this decision, so just go with whatever feels right for you. Now onto the S tier. This is where all the big boys are, and all of the guns you'll find here will be great tools for you to use in solo queue, will help you excel in most situations and or provide incredible strengths, and will also have a high presence in competitive play. Of course, you'll be finding the Phantom, Vandal, and Operator here as all-time staples. The Operator has been historically hard to deal with ever since the release of Valorant, and many players have found it rather frustrating to play against due to its impenetrable defense and great range. The Phantom and Vandal are of course in this tier as well as mainstays for overall gunplay within the game, providing incredible flexibility and power for any scenario. In addition to these 3 guns, I've also included the Sheriff for its incredible upside from its power and range, rewarding the aim gods out there that can punish other players. It's most definitely the strongest eco round weapon for this reason as well. Finally, I've also put the Guardian in the S tier. Now, before you flame me, I think the Guardian is one of those guns that's been crazily underused, and although definitely can be weaker than normal assault rifles in situations like shorter engagements, it has the highest first shot accuracy in the game and is very flexible in dealing with opponents at any range in the game, being even stronger than the Phantom and Vandal in this regard. It's also very aim heavy, so you can't spray the gun very well, but in an environment like solo queue, you can absolutely destroy kids who aren't careful against you. So this is my current tier list for all the guns within Valorant, tailored to you, the everyday player. If you have any questions about any of the guns and why I may have placed them where they are, feel free to discuss this in the comment section as always, and I hope to see you in the next video. Stay fresh, brothers.